Chosen ones, ever feel like you were the complete package, giving them everything, but now they can't even get a delivery? How does it feel knowing they turned their back on the one who made them whole? You were too bright, too full of potential, and they couldn't stand it. The moment they realized they could never eclipse your brilliance, they didn't just grow resentful, they decided you had to be dismantled. They weren't content to watch you soar higher than them. No, they needed to pull you down, to tarnish your name, to smear your legacy. They weren't powerful enough to face you directly, so they took the only route available to them: manipulation, lies, and deceit. One by one, they whispered falsehoods into the ears of those around you. They couldn't confront you alone, not with the truth, because the truth was in your favor. So they twisted it. They crafted stories so venomous that even those who once stood by your side began to question your integrity. Your friends, your family, even those you had supported without fail, these poisonous narratives slowly swayed them. The lies they spread were like cracks in a dam, small at first, but eventually unstoppable. Each rumor, each sly comment, each false accusation was designed to fracture the trust others had in you, eroding the foundations of your relationships until all that was left was suspicion. They portrayed you as the villain, while all you ever did was bring light to their lives. Your strength, your generosity, your ability to uplift others, none of it mattered anymore. What mattered was the story they told. They needed you to be seen as the problem, the one who sowed discord, the one who brought nothing but chaos. It was easier for them to convince others that you were the source of all conflict, the reason for every misunderstanding, than to admit their own shortcomings. In their narrative, you became the villain they could never be brave enough to confront, the obstacle they could never overcome. They were careful. They didn't attack you all at once. Instead, they worked in the shadows, gathering allies with subtle manipulation, playing on insecurities, and exploiting vulnerabilities. They knew how to turn your strengths into weaknesses in the eyes of others. What was once seen as your confidence was now framed as arrogance. Your independence became selfishness. Your compassion was twisted into control. And because they couldn't match your power, they planted seeds of doubt, convincing others that your success came at a cost, one they had supposedly borne in silence. It wasn't just a smear campaign, it was a carefully orchestrated campaign of destruction. They built a false version of you and paraded it around for everyone to see, until even those closest to you began to believe in this hollow, fabricated version. They played on people's fears, on their insecurities, on their need to belong. And soon, it wasn't just a few people who turned against you. It was an entire chorus echoing their lies, repeating their falsehoods, until the noise became deafening. For a time, it felt like the entire world had chosen their side, that the truth didn't matter anymore, only the story they had woven from their jealousy and fear. They could not stand your light, so they tried to extinguish it by burying you beneath a mountain of lies. Yet even in their attempts to ruin you, they revealed their weakness. It wasn't enough to defeat you. They had to rally others, to draw strength from their numbers, because they knew alone they were powerless. They convinced the world that you were the problem, while you remained the very blessing they could never deserve. The lies they spun around you were delicate, yet they believed them impenetrable. They thought their falsehoods could bind your truth indefinitely, that their web of deceit was strong enough to trap you forever. But lies, no matter how intricately woven, are fragile things, and you, chosen one, are too powerful, too divinely protected for such petty schemes to last. The universe, relentless in its balance, sees all. It watches in silence, waiting for the right moment, when the weight of their deception grows too great to sustain itself. The truth, unstoppable and inevitable, begins to tear at the edges of their narrative, unraveling it piece by piece. At first they thought they had succeeded. Their lies flourished like weeds, spreading fast and suffocating everything in their path. For a while they convinced others that you were the villain, that your brilliance was merely a mask for darker intentions. But falsehoods cannot withstand the scrutiny of time. Slowly, cracks began to appear. They couldn't maintain their facade forever. The contradictions became too glaring to ignore, the inconsistencies too blatant. The more they tried to uphold their story, the more it fell apart. People started to see the holes in the narrative, the gaps where the truth had been buried. The ones who once believed them, who turned against you, began to question everything. Doubt crept in like light through the cracks of a broken wall, and once that light touched them, there was no turning back. They started to realize the manipulation they had been subjected to, the falsehoods they had so readily accepted. The very people who had been swept up in the lies began to pull away from the ones who had spun them, recognizing the toxic web they had been caught in. They looked back at you, at your unwavering integrity, your consistent truth, and saw what they had missed. You were always the blessing in their lives, never the villain. The universe doesn't rush, but it is deliberate. It moves in its own time, revealing the truth with surgical precision. Piece by piece, it dismantled the lies that had been built around you. Every revelation was a blow to those who had tried to bring you down, their carefully constructed narrative crumbling before their eyes. They could no longer hide behind their deceit. They could no longer hold together the lie they had built. The truth had made its way to the surface, and nothing they did could stop it. People began to apologize, though some too quietly, too late. The ones who had been turned against you felt the weight of their betrayal. They realized how easily they had been manipulated, how blind they had been to your strength and your purity. They came to you not only with apologies, but with a new understanding, a reverence for the truth you had carried with you all along. You were never the problem. They were just too weak, too afraid to see the truth from the beginning, but now they see it clearly. The truth does not merely emerge, it shatters the illusions that tried to obscure it. And as their lies fell away, your light was revealed in all its brilliance, untouched and untarnished. You were always protected, always destined to rise above their deceit. Their betrayal, their lies, now lay exposed for all to see, crumbling into dust beneath the weight of your undeniable truth. The truth has a way of exposing everything, doesn't it? Just like you were always meant to rise, the lies that tried to keep you down were always meant to fall. And now, as their falsehoods crumble, it's time for you to step fully into your destiny. The Obsidian Inner Order is where the truth seekers come to gather, where the light workers sharpen their knowledge and level up. This is your invitation to join over 300 chosen ones who are ready to see the world for what it is and build the reality they deserve. In the Inner Order, we don't just talk about the truth, we live it, and we arm you with the tools to manifest it. The apologies from those who doubted you, they don't even matter now. What matters is the path ahead. The OIO isn't just a community, it's the #1 Ascension Nexus, where the strongest chosen ones prepare for their next elevation. We've got exclusive insights, including 3 preview chapters of the Modern Manifestation Mechanics Grimoire, revealing the secrets that most people will never understand. But here's the catch. This isn't for everyone. It's for those ready to stand in their full power, protected by divine truth, and unafraid of what comes next. The link to Patreon is in the description, but if you're not ready for the next level, don't bother. For those who dare, the Star Chamber is waiting, but with limited spots, this is your chance. Your truth is unstoppable, chosen one, and it's time to claim the victory that was always meant for you. Join the OIO now and become the light the world can no longer deny. They thought they could escape the consequences, that their lies and betrayal would leave them untouchable, but karma has no such mercy. The tables have turned, and the reckoning is swift. Those who once eagerly listened to their poison now see through the charade. The same people they manipulated to turn against you have woken up, their eyes wide open to the deceit that poisoned everything. The betrayers who once walked with their heads held high, smug in the belief that they had won, now find themselves shunned, their words falling on deaf ears. No one believes them anymore. The irony is staggering. They fed others with their lies, painting you as the villain, but now they are drowning in their own venom. Their downfall is as spectacular as their rise was deceitful. The very web of manipulation they used to ensnare others now binds them in isolation. Every whisper they utter is met with skepticism. Every plea for understanding is dismissed. The same people who once rallied around them, fooled by their false narrative, now recoil, disgusted by the truth that has been laid bare. They are no longer the master puppeteers pulling the strings. They have become the marionettes, jerked around by the consequences of their own actions. The ones who betrayed you are now outcasts, facing the cold shoulder from every direction. The respect they once commanded has evaporated, replaced by a seething disdain. The world has no patience for hypocrites, and they have been exposed as nothing more than cowards hiding behind lies. The reputation they so carefully curated is now in ruins, crumbling beneath the weight of their own deceit. No longer revered, they are the subject of scorn. Their names are spoken with contempt, their presence barely tolerated. They are forced to watch as the walls they built so carefully to isolate you collapse around them, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. They used to thrive on attention, on control, but now they are suffocating in the silence that surrounds them. No one rushes to their defense. No one is interested in hearing their side anymore. They are abandoned, left to navigate the wreckage of their own making, surrounded by the ruins of relationships they destroyed in their desperation to bring you down. The cold irony is that the very people they sought to manipulate have now turned on them. Those who once believed their every word now see them for what they truly are: empty, deceitful, and undeserving of trust. Karma has not just leveled the playing field, it has left them desolate. They are the ones now living in the shadow of rejection, ostracized from the very circles they once ruled. Their betrayal has backfired in the most poetic way, leaving them utterly alone, stripped of the respect and power they once wielded. They are living the consequences of their own actions, and there is no escape from the truth. While you stand unscathed, your light untarnished, they have been cast into the darkness, forgotten, despised, and utterly defeated by the very lies they created. Chosen one, you were never alone in this. From the beginning, God's hand was upon you, guiding your every step, shielding you from the darkness that sought to devour your light. Even when they gathered in secret, conspiring against you, God saw it all. They thought they were clever, believed their whispers would go unheard, their actions unnoticed. But nothing escapes the gaze of the Almighty. What they did to you in the shadows, He exposed in the light. They believed their lies would stand, that their betrayal would remain hidden. But God, in His divine wisdom, had other plans. This was never just about you. It was about the purpose He placed within you, the blessing that you are. They rejected you not because you were weak, but because your strength, given by God, intimidated them. They saw your brilliance and knew it came from a higher source, something they could never replicate. Their betrayal was never just personal. It was a rejection of the divine mission God had set before you. But God doesn't allow His chosen ones to be cast aside without consequence. Every plot they devised, every word they twisted was seen, and God, in His timing, let it unravel at the perfect moment. Their betrayal was a test, not for your destruction, but for your elevation. God allowed it to happen not to punish you, but to refine you. He saw their deceit long before it ever touched you, and He knew how you would rise from it. They thought they could break you, but in truth, they were only breaking themselves. God used their actions to strengthen your spirit, to purify your heart, and to remind you that His justice is always right on time. He allowed the storm, knowing you would emerge from it stronger, more resilient and more aligned with His will than ever before. While they schemed in arrogance, thinking they could outsmart you, they never realized that they were fighting against God's divine wisdom. Every step they took against you was another step toward their own downfall. They believed their rejection of you would diminish your power, but all it did was magnify the presence of God in your life. They thought they could outmaneuver you, but how can anyone outmaneuver the one who sees all, knows all, and controls all? Their lies, their plots, and their betrayal have become the instruments of their own destruction. Now they face the consequences not just from you, but from the hand of the divine. God's justice is swift and unrelenting. They turned their back on you, but in doing so they turned their back on the purpose God placed within you. They rejected the blessing that your life is, not understanding that by doing so, they were rejecting the very favor of God. And now, His wrath is upon them. No earthly power can protect them from what is coming. They have no shield, no defense, because when you war against God's chosen, you war against God Himself. This is their reckoning, and there is no escape. God's hand is upon them, not in mercy but in judgment. Every lie they spoke, every action they took has come back to them 1,000-fold. What they meant for your downfall has become their undoing. They are not just facing the consequences of betraying you. They are facing the consequences of betraying God's purpose. His divine plan cannot be thwarted, and now they must face the truth they sought so desperately to avoid. They thought they could harm you without repercussion, but they forgot one crucial fact. You are God's chosen. His favor is upon you, and no weapon formed against you can prosper. Their lies have turned to ash, their schemes to dust, and they are left standing in the wreckage of their own making. God has turned their betrayal into their downfall, and now all the world can see that His hand was with you every step of the way. You were never alone, and you never will be. His justice is perfect, and it is right on time. While they fall apart, suffocating under the weight of their own deceit, you, chosen one, continue to rise, untouched by the filth they tried to smear on you. They thought your light would dim without their validation, that you needed their presence to thrive, but they were wrong. You never required their approval or energy. It was they who fed off yours. And now, as they sink further into the ruins of their lies, you soar higher, more vibrant, more powerful than ever. Your growth is unstoppable, an undeniable force that leaves them in the dust, watching helplessly as the distance between you and their crumbling world becomes insurmountable. You were always more than they could ever handle. They couldn't comprehend your power, your completeness. You were the whole package, mind, spirit, and strength, while they barely knew how to tie a bow on their half-truths. Now, they can't even get a delivery, not from you, not from anyone. The door to your energy has been sealed shut, and no matter how hard they knock, no matter how much they beg, they'll never have access to the life-giving force they once took for granted. They squandered it when they had it, and now they stand outside, starved of the light that once sustained them. While they wallow in their self-made pit of regret, you rise, not just surviving but thriving. The absence of their energy-draining presence has allowed you to blossom in ways they never expected. Every step forward is a victory, a testament to your resilience and strength. You are flourishing in a world they can no longer touch, expanding your influence, your joy, your success in ways they can only envy from a distance. They tried to drag you down, but in doing so they unwittingly freed you. Without their weight, you've soared to heights they never even knew existed. They've lost the only person who could have elevated them, the only one who had the grace and strength to pull them up from their mediocrity. Now they're stuck in their own downfall, watching from below as you rise higher and higher. The regret gnaws at them, a constant reminder of what they've lost. They look at you now, and instead of seeing the target of their betrayal, they see the one thing they'll never have again. The person who had the power to change their lives, who could have brought them to the very heights you now reach alone. But they threw it all away. They underestimated you, mistaking your kindness for weakness, your patience for permission. They thought they could betray you without consequence, that your value would diminish without them around. But now they see the truth. Your value was never tied to them. In fact, without them, it's only grown. They can no longer bask in the warmth of your energy, nor can they benefit from your success. All they have is their regret, an ever-present reminder of the doors they slammed shut with their own hands. And while they wither in their bitterness, you continue to thrive. Every success, every achievement is a strike of divine justice, a reminder that you are unstoppable. They thought they could block your path, but in truth, they cleared the way for your rise. Without their draining presence, you've become an unstoppable force, breaking through every barrier, achieving more than they could ever fathom. You were the one who had the power to lift them, and now, without you, they are anchored to their own failure. They'll never have access to you again. The bridge they burned is beyond repair, And as they watch you thrive, the realization sets in. They lost the best thing that ever happened to them. You are beyond them now, flourishing in ways they never anticipated, untouchable, thriving without the burden of their betrayal. Your rise is a testament to the power of truth, resilience, and divine favor, and they will forever live in the shadow of the person they failed to destroy. You have shattered their lies, and now the universe has done its work. Every betrayal, every deceitful act they aimed at you has returned to them tenfold. The power they thought they held over you has dissolved into nothing, leaving them empty-handed. The energy they once siphoned from you is forever out of reach, and no matter how they grasp at the past, they will never again have access to the source of power you once provided. You were always the prize, rare, unique, and unmatched. They know it now, but it's far too late for them to undo the damage they've done. Divine justice has leveled the playing field. Everything they did to you has come full circle, exposing them for the frauds they truly are. They'll never regain what they've lost. Their own lies have ensnared them, and as they sit in the wreckage of their deceit, they're forced to confront the truth. They had everything when they had you, and now they have nothing. Your growth, your success, and your light have flourished in their absence, while they remain trapped in their own downfall. Now, Chosen One, your path is clear. You've risen above their betrayal, and your future is filled with possibility, untouched by the darkness they once tried to throw over you. Keep moving forward. Don't look back at the wreckage they created, because it no longer matters. They will watch you shine from afar, trapped in their regret, powerless to ever reach the heights you are destined for. The best is yet to come for you, stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever. Their chapter is over. Your story has just begun. You've always been the whole package, and now the world sees it too. You are rare, unique, and unmatched. They can only watch as you continue to rise, while their only company is their regret. Keep your head high, keep moving forward, and let them fade into the background of your new path. This is your time, and nothing can stop you from flourishing. Now, it's time for you to share your story. Let the world know what happens when the chosen rise, and let others see the power of your truth. Keep shining, Chosen One. The best is still to come.